it's Coach Jill. Coach Penny and Paula, we're here. This is a certification boot camp course. Excuse me. The chat is open. I dropped the link inside Slack, so if you want to come join us live, you can pick up that live link in Slack. We're happy to have you here. We are talking tonight about transformation habits. So this is the second topic in our series. We're going to start off with that. Let's get started here. And I've got somebody that's just saying they're not getting notifications. One second. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get started on our topic for tonight, which we're going to talk about transformation habits. So we want to better understand the formation of habits and how we actually coach them. So we're going to start off. We've got three main topics tonight with this. So the first topic in this transformation habits is a reminder of the trigger that initiates the behavior. So when you're coaching clients, you really want to figure out, okay, what are their triggers? What is triggering them to keep falling back to whatever habit it is that they have? So if it's a caffeine addiction, what is it? What is it? Are they tired in the morning? Are they not getting enough sleep? Has it just been that that's what they've done for so long in their life? Do they need to change up their morning routine? Or is it something else? So you really want to ask a lot of questions during this time as you're trying to go through these triggers. Find out what is that trigger. Now, once you've figured out what the trigger is, that's when you're going to actually have your client work with you. And this is a conversation that you want to guide this conversation, but you want them having basically the conversation. So you want them to decide what is it that they can do to change to avoid that trigger from happening. So what can you do? So if you're tired in the morning, what could you do? Offer them that what could you do differently? What could you? Now, some clients may say, I have no idea. I have no idea. And that may be true. That may be true. And that's when you as a coach want to start off with offering one potential suggestion and see if they will take the lead from there. Because this really needs to be a conversation that your client is finding within themselves. They have to discover this within themselves. Our triggers we only know what our triggers are. You as a coach may have an indication of what those triggers are, but you can't decide that. And you also can't really decide for them how to best fix it for them. So it's really getting them to have this conversation and figure out what is the trigger, what's happening here, why is this happening. So you want to start off with that conversation of what is the trigger and what's going on with that, and what can you do to change that. Penny or Paula, what is one thing that you found, conversation for triggers that you've had with clients?
What do you mean by triggers? Like that they have triggers that
Yes, yeah,
they're triggered, like to eat something sweet all the time, that kind of thing.
yeah.
That I think that's the most common is the sweet, and it was one of my triggers. Eating, what triggers that? What makes you want to eat that? And I use my own example. Is that once I detoxed from sugar, then I was, when I would be able to, if I was somewhere and I didn't need to eat it, but if I decided to take a piece of cake or eat a bite of cake, I got to where I felt horrible. And so that, to me, that's an example I can use with them and say, you can get to that point. I try to give them methods of combating that, like the BCAAs. Those help me tremendously cut the sugar cravings. Drinking water. Like, I had to learn to drink water.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, that also helped tremendously. Even with hunger, when I first started doing juice fasts and things like that. So I think those kind of triggers, being family gatherings can trigger stuff like that. Emotional eating, people have emotional eating problems. Those can. So I try to make sure if there's a holiday coming up that they're prepared for what might happen. People bringing food. People are not always behind you, supporting you, and they're going to try to get you off the path. I try to make sure they're prepared for every eventuality that could happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is the key, and something that we see often with clients. And this can be one of the hardest mindset pieces to overcome, is that self-sabotage, because it has become so ingrained. And you always have to remember, as a coach, you are a coach. You are not a therapist. So this is not therapizing somebody. This is helping them to discover, what is at the bottom of these triggers and what can you do to change that behavior. Now, sometimes there's going to be things, and I want to bring up one of the things that Penny just talked about, say family gatherings. And maybe family that is not supportive of you when you're in this process. Those are sometimes things that you can't change. You can't just not go. Well, I suppose you could, but you want to stay on good terms with your family, so you can't just not go. And you can't make people support you during this process. So it's learning how to really find your support within, or to find your support outside of your family, and looking to knowing your support system. So is that your coach? Is that the community? What is availability for you? Hey, Olives.
Hi.
Yeah.
Glad to be back. I can finally be here again. I don't have to be in therapy every day at this time. Yeah. Hi, everybody.
We're talking about
Hi, Sydney.
we're talking about triggers and transformation habits.
Okay.
So always remember, you have to the reminder of the trigger that initiates the behavior. Then you actually have to look at the behavior itself, and the action that you would take. So how do you stop? How do you stop doing that? How do you change that? What are you going to do differently? What options do you have? And sometimes it's just having a conversation with your client to help them to decide, okay, what can I do differently? Because maybe they don't know what they can do differently. Maybe they need that suggestion from you as a coach of what can I do differently. So, prime example, and I know these conversations went on back when I first started, and like Penny was talking about the sugar addiction. So what do? I know that I have this here. I know this is available. I'm dying for this. I don't know. I'm gonna use Kathy, Coach Kathy, for instance. They had a family event, and there was an ice cream cake out in her freezer, and I remember her messaging me, and she said, "This darn ice cream cake is going to be the death of me. I just can't help myself with it." And when we talked about it, I said, "Why are you allowing that cake to control you? What is it?" She said, "I don't know." And it was at that moment, and it took somebody asking her that question for her to realize, I don't have to do this. I don't have to allow this silly ice cream cake to control me. I have the power within to say no. And it was from that moment on, moving forward, that was the end of this ice cream cake for her. She kept sneaking down, taking more of it. And she said, suddenly I was just done with it. I was just done with it. So she needed somebody else to literally ask her why. Why is this a problem for you? Why is this, why are you struggling with this? So knowing that. And that's part of our job as a coach, is really to help clients work through that why. And that's why I say it's a fine line, because you don't want to be, you're not a therapist, but helping them to explore what's going on with this and why they're having this trigger. The other thing is that you really need to explore with them is, what's the reward? What's the benefit you gain, from getting this behavior? What is it? So why do you feel that you need to do this? And that can go both ways. That can be, what is your reward for doing the bad behavior? So the bad thing is having the sugar, things like that. But then also figuring out what's your reward when you're staying on track. How are you rewarding yourself when you're staying on track with the program? What is that feedback? Helping clients to know, hey, you know what? Maybe when they get to that first 10 pounds, how are you going to reward yourself? What's that going to look like for you? And maybe they don't have a support system at home. So maybe they don't have somebody who's going to say, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so good. So where do they go? Where do clients go when they don't have that support? What is it? So maybe you as their coach are going to be the only support they have during this program, and it's learning to support them throughout this program and say, okay, you're doing great. You're making so much progress. You look good. Your photos look good, and it's really being able to be there and support them and direct them where they can have more support. So maybe you need to direct them towards the membership so that they're, meeting more people who are in the program and making the same progress as they are. Penny, Paula, have you had clients that have had no support, outside support, where you had to support them?
Absolutely.
What were some of your techniques with that?
A lot of them, I have to tell you, it boils down to mindset. And I can't tell you how many times I have, just asked them why. Why do you think, you need to do certain things, or why do you think you can't resist this? And lots of times I'm the only person they had to turn to, and I would always encourage them to go to the membership. Sometimes they might have one friend, and then all of a sudden they lose too much weight, and then that friend goes away. So it can be very difficult, doing it by yourself, because you can be your own worst enemy, I know. So, but I do encourage them to if they're out walking, or if they join a gym, you can meet people there. You need to be with people who are doing what you're doing, like-minded people. And our community, you can find those people there. Finding them locally sometimes can be a bit of a challenge, unless you're willing to get out there. A lot of people couldn't afford to go to a gym. So, I never joined a gym. I was able to do all my exercising at home. So it can be difficult, but I got my support from from the Fit Life community. That's where I went for it. So it can be very tricky for some people.
Paula, how about you?
I would say for myself, I didn't have anybody against me, when I started, but I didn't have anybody doing what I was doing. So I too turned to Fit Life in the community for my support. As for clients that I've coached, I coached a woman who didn't tell anybody, not even her husband, what she was doing. So she snuck. She like people sneak chocolate. She was sneaking juice. I mean, she didn't want anybody to know what she was doing out of shame, basically, right? It's all mindset. She needed to figure out for herself, with the community support and my support, that she didn't have to hide any longer, that she was making changes, and that so it took us a while till she built the confidence. We worked on it daily and weekly through text messages and emails and the weekly calls till she got up enough confidence to not come out and tell everybody what she was doing, but just not hide it any longer. And that was a huge accomplishment, a huge accomplishment. So I have to agree with Penny. I really think that it's mindset and the support of it all, the intent, setting your intentions, and doing affirmations and doing your vision board, and ultimately becoming more secure with yourself and satisfied with where you're at, no matter where you're at, that you're happy with yourself, you're making changes, and you need to be proud of yourself. So
yeah, and I definitely agree. It can be a challenge, and I'm going to open this up to Olga and Elizabeth. It's great to see you on the call, and to Cindy. Any questions about this, or any issues dealing with clients that you're not sure, how to work on that transformation piece?
Well, can I hi everybody. I know I've been gone for a while, but I just haven't been at the calls. I've just kind of been in some other place with middle school kids. But it's over. But the client that I had, my two little clients, I saw her last week, and she says, "I'm done now. My transformation is over, and I'm done with the program." And I said, "Well, your transformation's over?" I said, "Well, we have to have like an exit interview or something." I didn't know, because it's my first client. I'm like, wait a minute, you're just going to go away? And I said, I'm always going to be here for you. My coach is always here for me. I said, hey, let's get together and talk about this. And she said, yeah. She goes, I kind of have to go back on the wagon. And then I thought, oh my God, she's been so good about not drinking for the last 90 days. And then she kind of slipped off and started drinking again. Not a lot, but that was the reason she joined Fit Life, was because she really wanted to cut down on her alcohol consumption. And so I kind of got blown away a little bit, because I want to know how to help her, but she's not, she's not a heavy person. She's very thin, but she wanted to do it for her health. So I'm glad that I'm back here listening to all these transformational stories, because I really feel like I still need to be there for her. She snuck the money to get on the program. She actually paid, remember, Joe? She paid me in hundreds, and then I had to put it on my card so she could pay me, so that her husband would know she used her card, and all of that was kind of odd. And then I went back to work, and so even though I saw her every week and talked to her, because she's my neighbor down here, I just feel bad for her. I don't want her to think that her transformation is over for life. And she goes, oh no, I love the program, and I love my juice, but I just you have to get back on program. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but as a coach, what do I do now?
Well, okay, first of all, is she off the program? Has she been off the program, and that she needs to get back on program, or she's
she did the 90-day transformation, that and then and I said, Suzanne, let's get back together, and it's time for us to. She goes, oh, I'm done now. I did my 12 weeks. And I thought, but don't you want to talk about where you're at? Give me your stats. She was putting them in online, and I actually haven't. She was so sporadic about it. I have to get back together with her, because I really feel like I need to have closure with her. You know what I mean? I feel like a failure in a sense, even though she lost 12 pounds, and she's very thin. It's not like she had to lose as much weight as I had to lose, or a lot of people, but for me, I felt like her mindset and her health is what I was worried about more than anything else. And she juices all the time, and but she's not doing the Organifi. So
okay. Well, and this is now that you're giving more details here, this is, I think, is a really good coaching lesson for you, because, and sometimes it can be very difficult, because we as coaches, we're doing this because we have a passion to want to help.
Right.
We have a passion to want to help people. not everybody's ready to make the changes. Not everybody's at that stage. They may think they're ready, and it can be very frustrating, especially when you go through 90 days with somebody and they say, okay, well, that's it, I'm done. And we want to help them, but it's also knowing that not everybody's ready for the change. And
yeah, I don't want it to be just like it's another program. It's not.
right.
I mean, that's what May was talking about. You know, it's not another program. It's a way of life.
It is a way of life. But if she's not ready to make the changes that she needs to make, you can run yourself into the ground trying to coach her, and she's not ready to be coached yet. Penny, you want to jump in here?
I do.
Thanks, Penny.
Olga, I love your passion. I love your passion. And I agree with it 100%. I've had several clients that, at first I'm like, oh my God, what have I done wrong? I had one client who paid a large sum of money who never did the program at all.
Oh my God.
Never, I could not get him to start the program. We talked on the phone, we text messaged, I emailed. Every week there was a different excuse. I don't know where a grocery store is. He ate every meal out. Every single meal was eaten at a fast food restaurant. 3 meals a day, maybe more. And he just wasn't ready. He said, well, how many calories do I get to have a day? I'm like, this isn't about that.
This isn't Weight Watchers.
I'm like, you don't. He said, I bought a juicer 10 years ago, but I have never taken it out of the box. I'm like, well, it's time to unbox it. I'll teach you how to make the juice. No, he never even started the program. And I did everything I could to help that man. And he had a large amount of weight to lose, and he wanted to lose it in about 4 or 5 months. And he couldn't have lost that much in a year, much less 4 or 5 months. And I felt horrible. I couldn't convince him to just start, just to try it, just try the program. He wasn't mentally prepared. He was not mentally ready to make a lifestyle change. And that's, a lot of people don't realize that's what it is.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think even though my client really, really lost some weight and she juices all the time, I think she lost, and she has great recipes. I mean, she really loved what she did, but when someone says, oh, well, my 90 days are up, I mean, I was crying when my 90 days were up because I didn't want to lose Jill.
I know.
What? No, I'm not. You know what I mean? I became a certified coach because I didn't want to lose Jill.
Exactly, me too.
because of all of you guys. And I have to tell you, the last 3 months have been really challenging for me, putting this into practice every day, getting up at 5 and juicing 3 times a week. I did that. I did that, and I took my nuts to work, and boy, the last 3 weeks was really hard with the sugar thing at the school, because at the end of the year everybody has sugar everywhere, sugar. I didn't give into it, but I still gained 3 pounds. In 3 months, I gained 3 pounds, solid pounds, and I know it's my cortisol levels. I know it's because I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I got stressed out with these wonderful, loving kids that I have to tell you, I love them to death, but it was hard. It was hard, and so now I'm back on my routine of walking twice a day and relaxing. I mean, this is my first day, by the way. How easy it is for me to get back into it, right?
It's good though.
But
and Olga, you look so relaxed already.
Hi, Cindy. And I'm back to thinking about Cindy. I never stop thinking about Cindy every day. But you guys are my community, and I love you. And it's been really tough not having that connection. I feel so out of it. I tell you, I feel out of it with the website. I feel out of it with everything. But I'm going to get back into it. But I have to tell you, in a week and a half, I'm going to Greece and Rome.
Okay.
So I won't be on the calls for 3 weeks, but
Okay.
then I'll be back and I'll do it again, and that's going to be fun. But it is a whole. It's wonderful, and I would love for my client to be able to say, I'm going to stay connected online. I'm going to stay connected with recipes. I'm going to stay connected with my body, and know that if I drink too much, that it's not good for me.
Some will, most won't. You have to let it go. You have to. I understand because I went through the exact same thing. I wanted them to be connected to me for life and to follow the program and I wanted them to have my passion. And they don't. Most of them are looking for quick weight loss.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Unfortunately. They see this, a lot of people see this as another diet, and it's not a diet.
No, it's
a
not.
lifestyle change.
It's a mindset.
I was looking for a lifestyle change.
So was I.
After all the diets.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the difference. And you have to learn, and you will with more experience. Like I finally was able to transition to where I can only do so much. I can only give you the information. I make myself available 24/7. You need something, you text me, you phone me, you email me. That's all I can do.
Yeah, and when they don't, then you feel guilty. Like I felt guilty because she knew I'm working, and then she's retired but kind of works in a yarn shop or something. And I said, call me, text me, I'm here for you. I'm right down the street from you. And then when she didn't, then I'd have to pursue.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what you do.
You do. That's what I do.
And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But I just can't believe it's been 90 days. But it was exactly 90 days that I worked. So I guess it's the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Darn. Well, I have to get new clients now, Jill. I have to get some clients. You know any clients out there?
Well, and the one thing one of the things that I just want to touch on as well as I'm listening to this, and Penny, thank you for your input.
Thank you, Penny.
Remember that even though that you're now a coach, there's still mindset piece never stops. There's always mindset work to do. Even we as coaches still have to do mindset work. I'm still continuously doing mindset work. I know Penny and Paula are. So it's a continuous thing because in order to be able to care for your clients, you have to continue to work it yourself. So, and yes, when you're initially starting to coach, and I don't want to say you become disconnected the more that you coach, but you're able to put it into a much different perspective. But when you're first starting to coach, if your client's having any type of
not beer
failure, it's very easy to take it to heart and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm failing this person," and you're not failing this person. You're delivering them the information. You are there to coach them, but you have to remember that you cannot make anybody make these changes. That is not your job as a coach. Your job is to guide them. It is their job to make the lifestyle change. But we still take this stuff internally. We take it to heart. I was crushed the first client that I didn't connect with, and I have had my share of clients that I have not connected with very well. So don't think that it doesn't. It does happen. It's happened to May. It's happened to anybody that's coached. It does happen. But this is the mindset piece that you need to keep working on to realize that these pieces of this it's not about you. There are things in clients' lives that you don't have control over, you don't want to have control over, only they have that control. And if they're not ready, they're not ready. So realize that piece. Okay? I'm going to wrap up here because we're over time, but I want to add in, we're going to, this is our series, this is our Bootcamp series. We actually started the first series right before the holiday, but we're going to be going through this, so I encourage you to come back for the next 8 weeks. And Olga, I would encourage you to watch the replays. I know you're going to be in Greece and traveling, but I encourage you to watch the replays because we're going to talk about a lot of the different tips for coaching, especially because you're new to coaching. So you're going to get some good takeaways from
I'll
this.
watch. I promise.
Good. So,
Jill, are you talking about the calls that we're on right now?
yes, for the certification bootcamp calls. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be going through this. We had done the series, I believe it was late last year, and we haven't redone it, so now we're going to redo this. And so I encourage you you'll find the replays in the playlist. So the first one was was the Monday before. No, it wasn't. Because the Monday before Memorial Day was Michelle. Before that. So it was 2 Mondays before Memorial Monday for the first one. So, so check those out and come back for the next 8 weeks, and we're going to have different topics that all revolve around coaching in the next few weeks. Okay. If you have specific questions about any of this, please feel free you can Slack message me, you can email me. We're definitely here to help you guys. We want to make sure that you're moving forward in your business the way you want to be moving forward. So that's why we're doing these calls, and we're here for you. So bring your concerns every week, and if you have things in the meantime that can't wait till Monday nights, Jill at FitLife.tv. I'm here to help you guys. So good to see everybody on the call. Glad you guys. Olga, glad you're back. Elizabeth, glad you're back. We missed you. So Cindy, it's always a pleasure. I love having you on these calls. So have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.